Who are the Guardians of the Galaxy? In 2014, I had no idea. As I've discussed before, I grew up reading comics. However, I only really ever paid close attention to Batman and the X-Men. Sure, I was familiar with the likes of Iron Man, the Hulk, and come on, everyone on the planet knows who Captain America is. Although I had knowledge of many of these characters and titles within the comic industry, never once in my life had I ever heard of the Guardians of the Galaxy. But man, when that first teaser dropped for the 2014 film, accompanied by Hooked on a Feeling by Blue Swede, phenomenal choice by the way, I was in awe. My initial thought was, what in the hell is this? This looks so ridiculous and strange, and yet so incredible. And my second thought was, has Marvel absolutely lost its sanity? But luckily for all of us, they hadn't. And we were gifted with one of the most enjoyable, revolutionary, and just wild comic book movies of the past decade. Like, subscribe, comment, and tell a friend if you haven't. And if you're new here, check out the channel. Let me know what you think. Alright, let's dive into Guardians of the Galaxy. Who knew that Marvel had the balls and the capability to pull off a summer blockbuster co-starring a talking raccoon and a humanoid tree? I know at the time I was skeptical, but at this point I was willing to give Guardians a chance. I mean, until then the MCU hadn't failed me. Had they stumbled a few times along the way? Sure. But they hadn't produced any outright bad films yet. And coming off the success of The Winter Soldier, Feige decided to elevate this universe to cosmic proportions, and he did not disappoint. Guardians of the Galaxy is as fun today as it was upon first viewing. There is so much to love about this movie, and it all starts with this team. The inaugural roster is filled with such a magnificent cast of colorful characters. Star-Lord, a wisecracking space pirate turned leader of the Guardians, played by the ever-charming Chris Pratt, hot off the heels of his Parks and Rec success. What a turn this was for him, not only physically, but occupationally as well. Sure, he still held on to his comedic roots that secured him a permanent stay as Andy Dwyer, but in Guardians, we experienced a side of Pratt's acting abilities that not many people knew existed. He was able to make us laugh from scene to scene, but when the movie needed him to, he revealed just how good of an actor he really is. Gamora, the universe's most deadly assassin and daughter of Thanos, played perfectly by the always reliable Zoe Saldana. She is an utter badass in this movie, and lethal with her sword. Drax the Destroyer, a muscled-out brawler hell-bent on avenging the murders of his wife and daughter, played hilariously by ex-wrestler Dave Bautista. Who knew this dude could make us laugh so much? Then our dynamic duo. Rocket, a cybernetically enhanced, uber-intelligent raccoon who can craft anything into a weapon, voiced marvelously by Bradley Cooper, with a memorable accent to boot. And Groot, a giant anthropomorphic tree creature who communicates using one phrase only and whose heart outsizes his stature, voiced by the family man himself, Vin Diesel. James Gunn did an exceptional job assembling this team. They all bounce off each other so well. Their chemistry lights up the screen in every scene that they're in. Going from a band of misfits thrown together by happenstance to a formidable team of mercenaries ready to defend the galaxy from any threat that stands in their way. Unfortunately for this movie, that threat is Ronan the Accuser. Nothing against Lee Pace, he's a capable actor, but my god, this is such a whatever villain. And it's a shame because, like so many of the MCU's villains, he could have been compelling, but we never get any real insight into his past or what motivates his crusade, save for some heavy-handed exposition. I get it though, Gunn had such a tall task with this movie. He had to introduce a whole new cast in an entire section of this universe never seen before. And for the most part, he did a damn good job. I mean, setting the villain problem aside, there is so much to appreciate in this film. The visuals in this movie are beautiful and so far beyond what has come before them, with nowhere being the highlight. A whole city housed within the severed, deceased head of a celestial. I mean, what the fuck? It's so wacky yet so inspired. The action is so inventive and so well executed. The escape from the kiln is equal parts exhilarating and hilarious. The climax is a multifaceted battle of epic proportions, leading to such a silly yet unique final face-off between Ronan and the Guardians, a dance battle for the fate of the galaxy. While this movie at times seems so distant from the characters and universe established prior, I think Gunn and his team did a great job of weaving all of these stories together without it feeling too forced. Simply relying on a few cameo appearances by Thanos and the inclusion of one Infinity Stone pretty much did the trick. You get a sense of how this story fits into the wider narrative, but it's still able to stand on its own 2 feet. This movie remains one of my all-time favorite MCU movies, and for good reason. It's heartfelt yet irreverent, hysterical yet tragic, stuffed with breathtaking visuals and heart-pumping action, and still we get those little quiet moments as these characters put their differences aside to come together for the good of the universe. Part of me is still in disbelief that this film was greenlit when it was. It seems like it would have been such a gamble for Marvel, but then again, betting on this cast and this crew of outcasts was always going to be a surefire payoff. Because as they said, they're the Guardians of the Galaxy, bitch.